What happens when America's sweetheart, Kelly Clarkson, finds herself in the most uncomfortable interview of her career? What started as a routine morning show appearance quickly spiraled into television chaos that left viewers stunned and studio executives scrambling. This is the story of how a simple question about her personal life triggered a confrontation so intense that Kelly Clarkson walked off the Today Show set, leaving Craig Melvin speechless and producers in complete panic. The morning at NBC Studios began like any other. Kelly Clarkson arrived cheerful, greeting crew members, makeup artists, and assistants with her usual warmth. She was there to promote her new album, discuss her upcoming tour dates, and talk about her continued success as a television host. Craig Melvin was equally ready, armed with well-organized talking points and fully prepared for what should have been a friendly 8-minute interview. The first minutes flowed easily. Craig welcomed Kelly with his signature enthusiasm, praising her recent achievements and inviting her to share the inspiration behind her new music. Kelly brightened at the question, explaining how her personal experiences had shaped her latest songs. She spoke openly about her creative process, about working with new collaborators, and about the emotional authenticity she poured into her art. Then Craig shifted to her personal life. His tone was casual, almost harmless, as he asked how she was coping with everything after her divorce and whether she was seeing anyone special. Kelly kept her smile, but something inside her tightened. She answered politely, but firmly. She was focused on her kids and her career. Craig pressed forward. He referenced rumors, hinted at speculation, and gently nudged her for just a little bit more. Kelly tried redirecting him, reminding him she preferred to keep her private life private. But Craig persisted, pushing the boundary between curiosity and intrusion. The mood changed instantly. Crew members exchanged nervous glances. The bright, cheerful studio suddenly felt tense. Kelly's voice cooled as she emphasized the importance of boundaries. Craig countered by insisting he was simply giving viewers what they wanted. Kelly's frustration began to simmer. She explained that sharing personal struggles on her own terms was different from being cornered on live television. Craig didn't back down. Instead, he suggested her defensiveness might make people wonder what she was trying to hide. That moment shifted everything. Kelly's anger surfaced, controlled but unmistakably sharp. She began to reveal the emotional cost of fame, the pain of being scrutinized, and the exhaustion of having to defend her right to privacy. Craig finally seemed rattled, but by then, the damage was already done. Kelly's frustration continued to rise, but she still tried to maintain composure. Her voice trembled with a mixture of exhaustion and disappointment as she explained the pressure she constantly felt to balance public expectations with her private life. She described how sharing her experiences had always been a choice, rooted in helping others, not a responsibility forced on her by curiosity or gossip. Craig, though unsettled by her tone, attempted to defend himself by insisting that asking such questions was part of his job. Kelly countered sharply, telling him there was a clear difference between genuine journalism and pushing someone for content. She reminded him that being a public figure didn't automatically erase her right to emotional boundaries. The more she spoke, the more it became clear to everyone in the studio that this moment was no longer just an uncomfortable interview. It was a breaking point years in the making. Crew members shifted uneasily behind the cameras, some whispering urgently into their headsets as producers tried to decide what to do. The control room scrambled, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the moment unfold. They watched as Kelly's frustration solidified into something stronger, resolve. Craig attempted to soften the situation by reminding her that she had always been relatable and authentic, implying that her brand relied on openness. But this only reignited Kelly's anger. She explained that authenticity didn't mean sacrificing her dignity, and relatability didn't mean handing her personal life to the world on a silver platter. She spoke with a directness that left Craig visibly rattled. She explained that her openness had always been voluntary and rooted in empathy. She shared out of compassion, not obligation. Being pushed into revealing more than she was comfortable with felt like a betrayal, especially from someone she believed understood her. Craig tried to walk back his approach, but Kelly wasn't ready to let the moment slip into politeness. She told him that her boundaries were not negotiable. and crossing them was not something she would tolerate. Not now, not ever. The atmosphere in the studio grew heavier as she spoke about the emotional toll of being constantly analyzed, reminding Craig that behind every celebrity was a human being struggling to cope with the pressures of exposure. Her voice turned quieter, but firmer as she said she needed to protect herself and her children from excessive scrutiny. It was clear she was hurt, not just angry, and Craig finally had nothing left to say. The tension was thick enough to silence the entire studio. As Kelly's words settled in the air, Craig looked stunned, unsure how to steer the conversation back into safe territory. Kelly, however, wasn't interested in steering anything anymore. She had reached her limit. She leaned back slightly, exhaling slowly, as if trying to release the weight of the moment. But the pressure remained heavy. Craig attempted one final justification, claiming that asking tough questions was part of good journalism. Kelly let out a short, humorless laugh that echoed through the studio. She asked him what truth he was hoping to uncover by probing into her romantic life. She questioned how her dating status added value to anyone's morning. Craig had no answer, only a stunned expression as he realized how hollow his reasoning sounded when spoken aloud. Kelly continued, explaining that interviews should be conversations rooted in respect, not fishing expeditions for sensational content. She spoke about how experiences like this made her want to retreat further from media interactions and become more guarded. Even though she genuinely enjoyed connecting with people, she explained how moments like these created walls that were difficult to dismantle once built. While she talked, she reached for the microphone clipped to her jacket and began unfastening it. That action alone made several production assistants freeze. They exchanged panicked looks, unsure whether to intervene or let the moment continue. The control room was in chaos, voices overlapping as producers debated cutting the feed. Craig tried to regain control, insisting she was being dramatic, insisting this was just how TV worked. Kelly's eyes hardened as she corrected him. She made it clear that diminishing someone's emotional reaction by labeling it dramatic was part of the problem. She explained, calmly but firmly, that trust was everything in interviews. Once it was broken, the entire dynamic collapsed. She placed the microphone gently on her chair, the action slow and deliberate. It was not a theatrical move. It was a declaration. She told Craig he had undermined her trust, not just by the questions he asked, but by ignoring her clear signals that a boundary was being crossed. The studio had never felt so quiet. Even the background hum of equipment seemed distant. Everyone knew they were witnessing a moment that would make headlines before noon. Craig's face shifted through worry, regret, and desperation as he tried to salvage the situation. But it was clear the interview had crossed a line that couldn't be repaired. In a single on-air apology, Kelly stepped away from her chair, taking a slow breath as she moved toward the edge of the set. Craig followed her with hesitant steps, still reeling from the magnitude of what was unfolding. His voice wavered as he called after her, asking what he should tell the viewers. It was a desperate question, one last attempt to regain control of an interview that had unraveled completely. Kelly stopped and turned back toward him, her expression calm but resolute. She told him to tell the truth, something simple, something honest. She said he could tell viewers that he had pushed someone beyond their comfort zone and that she chose to walk away to protect her dignity. She reminded him that boundaries existed for a reason, and when they were ignored, people had every right to remove themselves from the situation. Her voice grew stronger as she explained that fame did not strip a person of their humanity. She emphasized that celebrities were real people with real families and real struggles, and she had a responsibility to protect her children from unnecessary public scrutiny. Crew members listened with wide eyes, realizing that this moment would change the tone of celebrity interviews for months, maybe years. Craig stood frozen, unable to argue anymore. Kelly continued, telling him that this incident should serve as a reminder to viewers that the people they see on television are not immune to emotional exhaustion or hurt. She explained that vulnerability did not give the world permission to invade every corner of someone's personal life. The pain in her voice was subtle but deeply felt, adding a weight that no script or production cue could ever replicate. She took a step back, giving Craig one final look that carried equal parts disappointment and closure. without raising her voice. She made it clear that she had come to the show in good faith, expecting a respectful conversation about her work, not to be cornered or interrogated about her private life. She reminded him that respect was not optional, even for public figures. Then she turned away and walked off the set. Her exit was steady, not rushed, not dramatic, simply a woman reclaiming her space. The moment she disappeared from view, the studio erupted into frantic whispers. Producers scrambling to decide how to proceed. Camera operators frozen in disbelief at the scene they had just captured. Craig remained standing, staring at the empty space where Kelly had been moments earlier, realizing too late the consequences of crossing a boundary he should never have approached.